Okay, we're going to take a look at how we can group shapes together and going beyond grouping shapes, also making compound shapes. And we'll learn a couple of other extra little bonus things like gradients along the way. So the first step with this assignment today is we need to create this group of vectors, all right? This collection of vectors. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here and make, a rectangle. We'll make a circle. And then we actually need to make a turned square here. So we'll just hold down the Alt key, rotate this. It needs to be a little smaller. Just like with some of our other ones, these don't need to be exactly the same. We just want them to be close. So we'll go ahead, we'll use the minus tool on that to make that like so. And so now I have this selection of ungrouped vectors. Okay, these are just 4 different shapes. When I click on them, I can grab each one individually. I'm going to grab all of them now. Okay, so I'm just clicking and creating a bounding box around all of them. I'm going to hold down the Alt key and click and drag them over to this next spot. And now I'm going to group these guys together, okay? The easiest way to group them is in your Properties panel. When you select multiple objects, you should get in the Quick Actions options an option that says Group. And that will group them together. So now they're all one group. So when I get my selection tool and I grab one, it grabs all of them, okay? If I double click on that group, it will then notice that now it says Layer 1, and now it says I'm inside this group. And so now I'm in the group, and I can grab each one individually. Everything else is grayed out, but when I double click off of the group, it comes back to that main window where they are grouped together, okay? We can also group things by right-clicking and choosing group, or you can go to edit group, or you can go to Control G, and that will group it, okay? So let's go ahead and copy this over. Didn't mean to get so excited on that last or, I apologize. But now what we want to do is we want to make a compound shape, okay? So we want to take all of these grouped objects, and now we're going to make them one singular shape. And so the easiest way to do this, where you're going to have the most liberty at choosing what's what, and I'm going to show you, is the Shape Builder tool, okay? So this is a tool that is relatively new to Adobe Illustrator, and so when you click on this tool, you have to have something selected. So I have my shape selected, my group selected, and I'm going to get the Shape Builder tool, and all I have to do is click and drag over all of these shapes, and it's going to combine them to make them one compound vector. There is technically another way we can do this. You'll notice that there's these Pathfinder tools, and there's an option that's Unite, Minus Front, Intersect, and Exclude, and you can use those as well. If you want to learn more about those, there's the Boolean game that I have for you guys at the end of this particular assignment you can take a look at. All right, we're going to go ahead and alt click and drag this new shape, and now we're going to give it a gradient fill, okay? So for the most part so far, we've been messing with fill colors, but we just put a solid color there. If we want to have a gradient, you'll notice there's a gradient tool, but that doesn't do very much for me and didn't change my shape or anything. To change the color, the fill color, to be a gradient, there are 2 ways you can do it. The most straightforward way is down here at the bottom. Go ahead and just choose gradient, okay? And then once you choose gradient on these options here, so you have no fill, gradient, and then just a normal fill color, now you're going to get the gradient tool to pop up here on this right-hand side. You can click and choose from some pre-made gradients. You can even choose a linear gradient or a radial gradient, or there's this third kind that's called a freeform gradient. When you do a freeform gradient, it's actually just letting you choose different colors and you can move them around. It's basically how like the Instagram logo looks like it does, okay? But you'll notice that in the gradient slider now, I have these different colors that are popping up, and I can actually move to dictate how they go. The gradient tool, now I can actually kind of dictate, what is the angle of my gradient going to be, all right? But I can also change these colors by just double clicking on a circle, and then I can choose whatever colors I want, all right? If I don't want a color swatch on there, let's say I don't want this orange one on there at all, just press the delete, the little trash can button when you have one selected, and that will change that. And then these diamonds change where we want the gradient to, like the fade to really happen. So if you put it between 2 colors, it'll be a much smoother gradient. But that's the gradient tool in a really small nutshell that you can kind of maybe get a little bit of an understanding of, okay? We're going to keep going here. So now I'm going to take this same shape, but I need to add some new stuff onto it. I'm going to add a circle, a star, and a polygon. So I'm going to grab my circle tool. These don't need to be exactly the same sizes, so I'm just going to draw a circle here, and then I'm going to draw a star. Oh, it's still remembering a three-sided star from before. Okay. We'll do our star, and then we need a polygon. And so we'll come down here. And it's remembering one from before as well. And so now I have my three shapes on here, but these are just shapes on top of the gradient. And so we're going to take a look at how to make those actually part of the shape. So let's say our final shape, we want to have those cut out of that. I'm going to select everything. So I'm selecting the circle, star, polygon, and my composite shape from before. I'm going to get the shape builder tool. And so before we would click and drag and cover everything. But if we do that, it combines it all. What we're going to do is when we have the shape builder tool, if we hold down the Alt key, look what happens to that little plus behind the arrow. It turns to a minus, okay? When I click on a shape, it's going to now cut that shape out instead of adding it to my selection. And so now I have this shape, the individual other shapes are cut out. And so now I can apply a gradient to it. I can either go in and, add the gradient this way, and I could say, oh, I want this, white to black one and change that color. I don't know. But I could also click on the shape, hold down the I key or hit eyedropper and copy that gradient over. And it's going to even do the same angle that other one is in. Okay. So remember the eyedropper tool, we can grab those attributes and bring them over. Once you have this done, save it as a PDF, and you've now learned about the shape builder tool and how to create a composite shape.